Hello, hello, and welcome everybody to Magic in Mind. My name is Maggie Rose Cunningham, and today I'm going to be leading you through a lovely session for celebration and release. We're going to be working with the mystic self, the part of the self that is connected to imagination and faith, that travels out into the world, seen and unseen, to retrieve power and wisdom and insight and ideas, and then brings them back. And so we're going to be doing a welcome home session. So you're going to want to be in a quiet space where you're going to be undisturbed if you're going to join me for the sort of energy ceremonial part of this session today. And we're going to be looking at putting down those burdens, those things that the mystic has picked up through the course of the lunar cycle, or through a big working that they've undertaken, perhaps a big project that they've done, or over the course of the year. You can use this ceremony in many different ways. But before we go into our ceremony, I want to say hello to you. We are in our waning moon session for this lunar cycle, and we've been working with the mystic all through this lunar cycle, and we're in one of those cycles where the waning moon is actually coming at the very end of this week. So you've got a whole week to do this work. In fact, you've got longer than that, because the new moon session won't be for another 2 weeks. So next week is going to be wild card week. So one of the things I would love you to be thinking about, and let me know, you can let me know in the chat, or you can send me an email, is what would you love to have a wildcard Magic in Mind session on? Are there any deities you're interested in, runes you're interested in, healing practices, seership practices? Let me know. Perhaps you want to dive a little bit deeper with the mystic. Let me know, and I will be putting together that session for you for next week. So it's wildcard week next week. The other thing that I should say about that is, if you haven't already ordered it, you can order your Sooner Star Wheel journal online now for the next 3-month cycle. So if you're a member of the Sooner Star Wheel membership, which I would highly recommend, then you will already have received your little discount code to get your copy of the journal. If not, you can get the journal from the website www.meganrose.com. Look for events and goodies. It's all got in my shop there, or you can go and you can subscribe to Sooner Star Wheel, the membership, and then you will get your journal, and you would also get lovely meditations and wild voice sessions and lots more support sent directly to your inbox to support you in working through the wheel of the year for a full year. Each subscription cycle lasts for a year. So hello to those of you who have joined me. I can see you are there in the group. Say hello and let me know how you are doing. And what are you celebrating? What are you celebrating from this this lunar cycle? We've just had the full moon, a lovely full moon in Kinaz, and I'm feeling much better, I have to say. I was feeling pretty awful before the full moon. I was literally on the phone to a friend, a fellow shamanic practitioner this morning, and just said, why was it that every morning I woke up this last week and I was just like, I am in despair. And my rational self, my sage self, was going, you're not really in despair. So I am in despair. I was like, no, this is not what's happening. But the energy really felt like that. And then the full moon hit, and I feel much better today. Let me know how you're travelling. Obviously, we've had the spring equinox as well. That hinge of the wheel of the year. We're moving now into more light than dark in the cycle here in the northern hemisphere. Obviously, the other way around if you're in the southern hemisphere. So let me know, what are you celebrating? I'm celebrating that it was my youngest son's 6th birthday on Saturday, and he had a lovely time. I'm celebrating the beautiful looking at the moon last night. We had a totally clear sky, so we could really look at the moon and really feel that energy, which was delicious. And I'm also celebrating that we've got our next edition, our second edition of the hard copy of Sooner Star Wheel coming out. I've had so much lovely feedback from people about the journal. It's been something that I've been wanting to do for years and years and years, so thank you. And I'm very excited that we are now on to our second edition. What have we got in the chat? Hi Esther, lovely to see you. And Grace, lovely to see you. So you're celebrating the lunar eclipse is over tonight, and I too am looking forward to not waking up feeling like I've been hit by a bus. Yes, not so good, is it? Not so good. And Esther, you're saying feeling better too, wasn't good before. I mean, the The problem, I think, with the lunar cycles is that we want to be able to say this will happen then and this will happen then, and we don't really know, do we? Because each one is so nuanced. The planets are in slightly different places, the moon is in a slightly different place. There's so many other variants that you have to take into account that you don't always know when you're going to be in a state of, I am in elation, hurrah, or I'm really energized, hurrah, and we can predict, and we can say, oh, and I'm really, the full moon in Keenaz, I was like, oh, this is going to be a juicy, like, creative energy coming through. But obviously with the eclipse going as well, in the northern tradition, we talk about the chariot of the moon being chased by the wolf. And during eclipses, it's like that. The wolf grabs the moon in its jaws. We're all banging on pans, saying it's trying to scare the wolf away. So it can bring up all those doubts and those fears and those worries and those concerns. But when we come out of the other side and the moon is released, then we can be like, yes, we've done that. So yes, it can be both brilliant and awful at the same time, can't it? I find, like, big full moons and eclipses and major planetary happenings and events. So please carry on sharing, those of you here with me live, how you are flowing with this lunar cycle. And we do have more time, so as I say, this session today, you can use it all the way through the next 2 weeks, and you can return to it as many times as you want to. It's really useful for those of you who are, for those of you who have, you can put your hand up, let me know if this is you, in the chat. If you're somebody who gets, like, lots of ideas, you're literally, I'm just moving through life and everything should be fine, and then I'm like, oh, that's an idea, oh, that's a deep insight that I thought, oh, I should remember to write that down, that sounds good, or, oh yes, if I did that, then everything else would be easier. It's just continual, it's sort of coming in all of the time, never ending, brilliant, creative, purposeful, powerful ideas and insights and wisdom happening so fast that we cannot keep up with them. If that's you, then I'm going to suggest that you've got a healthy mystic self going on. Grace saying it comes in spurts. Yes, and that can happen as well. We can have a part of ourself activated, either because of intentions that we've set for ourselves or because of what's happening astrologically. So if you know your birth runes, then you can see when these sorts of things are going to come, when they're going to hit. I was looking at the Keenaz full moon and going on, my north node is in Keenaz, so there's going to be a lot of purpose, which is going to be nice because I have a strong mystic that comes through in my birth runes as well. So I can be all over the place when, with ideas going left, right and centre, and I have to contain them very carefully and very powerfully and work with the Keenaz rune to do that. So you might be somebody who that's all of the time, or you might be somebody where it moves a bit like the cycle. We're cyclical beings, aren't we? So we can come in different phases. So knowing your phases can be really, really helpful. Erica's saying, eclipse full moon in Keenaz is intense, but I love all the transformational fire. Yes, it does feel like that, transformational fire. Esther saying, lots of creative projects been created, I have to go with. Yes, that's you. Carol, hello. Yes, I can never keep up with the ideas that are thrust at me. It's always going on, it's ongoing. Yes. So if that resonates with you, this session is going to be very powerful for you. So let me introduce our patrons. So Frigg has been our patroness all the way through working with this lunar cycle. She's also the patroness for the Reclaim Your Magic Mystic Retreat, which is running tomorrow. If you haven't already signed up, I would highly recommend it. But she offered Na, who is one of her handmaidens, one of the members of the AC Nor, as the patroness for this specific session that we're doing here today, that I'm sharing with you in the hearth space today. Nara is known as the messenger of Frigg. It's sometimes said that it is her job to bring forth and to manifest Frigg's will out into the world. So she sort of comes and she says, oh, Esther, I've got a really good idea about this. Or, Carol, here's another piece of wisdom or insight for you right now. That's like Na coming and bringing those messages to you and saying, because Frigg wills it. I think sometimes it's not always because Frigg wills it, but this idea that we have ideas coming in from spirit all of the time, and that Na is a key messenger for that. Now, her name means fast paced or speed. She rides a horse who is his name is Hoof Thrower. So she's got this real like speed going with her. And what I realised when I was working with her, she was saying I had lessons for your ancestors. You know, I was relevant and important to your ancestors. One of the things that she teaches is the rules of hospitality, and you might know this if you work with Odin as well, that there were very strong rules of hospitality, particularly personified by the Gibo rune, this sort of idea of gift giving and exchange, that travellers on the road, messengers or mystics, needed to be welcomed and offered hospitality, and in exchange they would offer stories and knowledge and information. They were essentially they were like the lifeblood of communication moving across the land, and so hospitality was really important in order to maintain those communication across different tribes, across different regions. And so having rules that said you must be hospitable to somebody who is on the road in this way was helpful for everybody. It was helpful for all people. And Nala talks about this. She says, I was a messenger. And if you think about hospitality, you might think about this as being your mystic. It's not only journeying out, but they're also being hospitable to the ideas that come to them, to the spirit-inspired ideas, to the moments when somebody comes and they say, I need a soul retrieval or a power retrieval, if that's what they did, and they would say, I will host this, I will facilitate this. So lots of ways in which the messenger, but also the mystic, relies on the rules of hospitality and also needs to embody those rules of hospitality in order to invite in new information and new knowledge. And to be okay with disagreement, for example. A stranger comes into your space, it might be a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe they have different ritual behaviours, they have different languages, and you need to create a comfortable space for them. All of these are parts of the mystic that Nala was talking about. But she said there is something in the modern world that our ancestors didn't have, which she wants to come now and teach us about, which is they treasured those messengers coming along the road. You can imagine maybe they're small holding, not many people, who they all know each other. Very, very rare for a stranger to pass along the road. And so when they did, they were treasured, and they would stay overnight. You would give them food. They would give all of their stories in exchange, and their words would be listened to. It's something they're going to share, a new story you've never heard before, one that's then going to be added to our word hoard. If it's a good one, we're going to keep that one. And so new data and new information was precious and cherished. Whereas in today's society, we have more information than we know what to do with. And it is coming through on all fronts at all times. We've got, obviously you and I are talking to each other all the time, and I've got the chat box going all the time, which is wonderful. I can connect with so many of you who I know are all over the world at this point. I can talk to you, we can have a chat. We can have a chat every Monday. Regardless of location, we can come and we can do this. And what this can do is this can lead us into overwhelm. What do I choose? How do I work with all of this data that's coming in all of the time? Let alone all of the literal data streams that we're exposed to that simply didn't exist in the same way. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all of those things didn't exist in the same way before. Our bodies are receiving information in different ways all the time. We are eating food that comes from far further away than our ancestors would have. They would have had access to local stores of food, and there's data in that, isn't there? We have access to a much wider variety of food, access to a much wider variety of clothing that we can choose to put ourselves in. Everything is more complicated and bigger, and there are so many things that either offer information and insight or generate, for people who are natural mystics, more ideas going on all of the time. And Nala calls this, she says, what I end up with, I end up with a pocket full of knots. And what she means by that is, I've got a string here. So I've got a little string here which I've used. This is one I use for Yggdrasil's Path. And it's just a piece of string, and you can see it's got knots in. And as I moved through Yggdrasil's Path, when I worked with a spirit guide, and they asked me to bring information back or to do some further work with them, I would tie a knot in my piece of string, and that represents the commitment that I've made, because it's an important commitment. And this is I talked about the Gibo rune, the promise making. It's like the knot is created with the Gibo rune. Now, if you don't fulfill that promise, eventually you're going to end up, it's going to become tighter, and there's going to be so many knots, and you're going to forget what they represent, and it's all going to become a bit difficult, and that's when your Norse rune is activated. So instead of the Gibo shape and the gift, we get the Norse rune of need and necessity, where we've got too much going on. And this is what can happen for us, is that our systems can become overwhelmed by the ideas. And as Nara would then say, she would say, you've got lots of knots in your pocket, and what are you going to do with them? So this is what she wants to offer to us today, is a little ceremony that we can use for those of us who are either natural mystics, or maybe during this period of time you've just received a lot, there's a lot on your plate, and you want to be able to release it. So we're going to do a little practice around that. Let me just check the chat box and see if anyone else has said anything else that we need to look at this point. Yes, we've got some yeses. This happens. Morning all. Do you know the Witcher spell of the 9 knots? Yes, Erica, I do. It's not entirely the same, but the idea of of using knots obviously comes. There are a lot of ways in which we can use those in witchcraft as well. It's such a well-known technique for working. But it's worth bearing in mind that I think what Nara is saying is that we can get to the point where, instead of doing those intentional knots, where we are literally creating a spell, with that knot working, we're knotting without even knowing that we're doing it, because there's so much happening all the time and our attention snags on stuff and it gets entangled. Maybe we had one commitment that we made, little knot that we made, and then more and more ideas come in, and they sort of accrue to this one knot, and then we're like, oh no. So yes, we can use the knot making to benefit ourselves and for magical work, but it can also become quite challenging for us too. And because I find the world is a lot noisy now. Our farm was quiet, yet living with my daughter and son-in-law, working from home, my mind is full of noise. Yes. And I think that's important to bear in mind, is that sometimes we're making new knots. I could do that. Sometimes we've got one, and then there's just more stuff that attaches itself to existing knots. And what Nara says is, and I think this is important, there's 2 things that I want to share before we do the working. One is, she says, what is mine cannot be taken from me. And this is important, because I think for a lot of us we can feel like, I was given that and it's important, this is really valuable. And we end up feeling guilty because we have so many ideas and so many projects and so many things that we could be doing, that we end up being overwhelmed by guilt as well. Like, oh my God, there's too much stuff. And she's saying, when we do this clearing process, this coming home, returning home, putting down the stuff process, we have to work on the basis that whatever is meant to continue to travel with you as an individual cannot be taken from you. And this is the quality of faith, which is also part of the skill set of the mystic, which we'll be covering tomorrow at the Reclaim retreat in more depth, and as we go into it in much more depth in the Amplify program. But working on the assumption that when we do this cleansing and clearing, we're not going to release those things. I'm not going to be releasing the knots that are on my thread. Those are mine, and I've committed to them, and I would need to go and release them if I needed to, individually, with intention, in order to do that. What we're doing is releasing the clutter and the stuff that we're like, no, this is not mine. So we need that piece of faith. And the other thing I wanted to bring in is the work of Elizabeth Gilbert, which some of you will know already, is the idea that she offers, which I really like. She talks about that there are ideas, like an idea for a book or a play, or new way of working in my local primary school, whatever it is, and they're flying about and they're looking for a host. Talk about hosting, finding their way home. They're looking for a host who will help them to manifest themselves into the world. If you're thinking of this in a northern tradition way, you might think about it as a Valkyrie flying around with an important piece of fate weaving, something that needs to be manifested into the world, and they're looking for someone to host that piece and to bring it out into the world. And they find you. They go, oh, this is an open soul who is committed to making the world a better place and is creative and visionary. Yes, this is the person. Right now, this is the person. And you get the thing. But then obviously we're getting lots of other things as well. And maybe we've already got some knots that we've created, or life changes, you know, things happen. And there will come a point where you are no longer the ideal host for that idea if you haven't yet manifested it. That's a possibility. You might not be the ideal host. Or it might be, and I think this is worth bearing in mind, that actually that idea needed to nest with you for a period of time to receive something from you, you know? And that has happened. That idea has received what it needed from you. Maybe a little bit of shaping, a little bit of moulding, a little bit of adding. And then it's going to move on to the person who's going to do the manifesting. Now, remember what I said, what is mine cannot be taken from me. So maybe you had another piece of the puzzle waiting inside you. And that idea comes along, and that piece of the puzzle, it attaches to the piece of the puzzle, and then that flies away because you've done your bit, you've done your job. That's a possibility as well. It doesn't have to be, I fail, I'm terrible. You know, this amazing book that I've had in my mind for years needed to come through me. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it needed to have a gestational period with you and then to move on. So those are the two things that I think are important for us. So, Carrie was saying, yes, I'm a mystic. The knotting is similar to the knotting in Wicca by the knotted ones that's happening. But I'm seeing a curtailing of so many knots is a good idea. Yes, indeed. And I think this is the thing. It's recognising that life is very complicated and we need that process of simplifying, don't we? We need to make that a little bit simpler for ourselves. Okay, so if you would like to join me now in this session, my invitation to you is to make sure that you have, take a sip of water. If you need a sip of water, make yourself comfortable. And then if it feels good, you can do this session with your eyes closed. It's helpful. It makes everything else simpler because you're not inviting in new stuff as you do so. Just allow yourself to travel with the sound of my voice. You're starting to tune in to the rise and fall of your lungs, of the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath, and the in-breath and the out-breath. And as you do so, just being aware of the beat of your heart. Now, it might not be that you can hear it or sense it, but just knowing that your heart is beating all of the time. It's holding that road for you. It's moving you forward all of the time, bringing that energy and that sustenance to you all of the time. And as you tune in to that rhythm of the heart, just imagining its sound. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. And as you feel that rhythm and tune into that rhythm, we can hear the galloping of the hooves of Nar's horse, her steed, the hoof thrower, the speed of her pace as she moves through the world, taking messages, receiving messages, knot after knot after knot, being tied. And then she sees the horizon of home, the place that she knows is hers, place of peace. And the hooves of her horse start to slow, and they become a gentle trot. And then they move into their even slower, and Nar dismounts from her horse, and she invites you now to walk with her this final stretch of the road. And you can hear the hooves of her horse, and now the sounds of each of your feet falling upon the path. And as you pass in through the great entrance halls of Asgard, Heimdall maybe watching out as you pass through, you come to a reception area, and Nara's asked whether she wants to give her horse in to be looked after. She says, no, not the horse. But she takes the saddlebags from the horse and she puts them on the side. And she says, look after those for me because I'm going to need to distribute them later. And you know that in those saddlebags are all of the things that she's brought back to Asgard, all of the stories that she's going to tell, all of the gifts and the offerings that have been sent to the gods, but for now she doesn't need to worry about them because they are not hers. She is simply carrying them to the person, the member of the Aesir who needs them. But she says, no, I'll take my horse, thank you. She draws the horse around and she says, follow me. And she takes you through a little side door, and the two of you travel through. And you come out into green banks. And as you look down, you can see the winding of a blue estuary, a place to the side of Asgard where the great rivers that flow bring fresh water to the realm of the gods, meet the mighty oceans. And the two of you descend that pathway, leading the horse with you. You can see green trees to the side as you start to descend down. And you're moving now into the shade and down to the banks. And Nara brings her horse to a really lovely clearing underneath the trees. And he starts to just munch on the grass. She says. She kicks off her shoes and places them carefully at the side because shoes are precious. She invites you to do the same. She's come down to the water's edge, to the liminal spaces where the energy of in-between holds us and helps us to find our way home into ourselves, where we are not held by any responsibilities, any obligations. We can simply be. She leads you down to the water's edge, and the two of you sit by the water's edge, with your body supported by the bank, by the soft grass, and you can feel the warmth of the sun upon you. It's very easy to just place your toes into the water, and as you do so, you can feel how cool and clear it feels. Lie back, she says, lie back and see what happens. And so the two of you lie back and look out over the blue, blue sky. And as you watch the blue, blue sky, you can see white clouds moving across the sky. And as you look within those white clouds, you think for a moment, no, I must be mistaken, but no, it looks like tiny, tiny dots of colour. All the different colours of the rainbow, brilliant in hue. And you see now that the cloud, yes, there's white cloud, but amongst that white cloud, moving with that white cloud, is a host of butterflies of every single description. And as you lie under the sun, you watch those butterflies and you see one, just one butterfly moving through the air, floating on the air, flitting as they do, almost as if it's not sure which direction it's going and just taking its time, meandering slowly towards you. Until it lands very, very gently on your body. And you watch it slowly opening and closing its wings, moving its wings, and you notice what colour butterfly is. And as you watch, you can feel your body tingling as if to receive something from that butterfly. And maybe you remember a time in the past lunar month when an idea so bright and brilliant popped into your mind. That moment, that anticipation, that opening, that invitation, that yes moment. And as you feel that energy of yes inside you, you see how that colour of the butterfly slowly moves from the butterfly into you. Just shimmering and flickering in your energy field. It feels good. It feels nice. It's just moving into your energy field, offering its colour to you. And the butterfly itself now is changing colour, becoming sort of white, maybe cream, the colour of the clouds. And then the butterfly moves off and flits away, having left you with that idea, with that thing, with that project, with that insight. And then you see another butterfly coming down. This is in a different colour, and it lands in a different place on your body. And now you know exactly what's going to happen. You can feel that energy of yes moving through you as the colour of this butterfly now moves into your body. And perhaps the two colours merge and mingle and form their own pattern swirling through, a bit like marble paint on water, just moving through you. And it feels delicate and sensual. And then that butterfly takes off again. And now two butterflies land on your hand, and they're merging their colours at the same time. And it feels good to receive these colours of the butterflies as they land gently upon you and offer their gifts to you, and you open with your yes to receive them. And their energy is moving through you, swirling through you, catching on your tongue, dancing on the shells of your ears, resting on your shoulders, coiling down your spine, moving through the soles of your feet, until it feels like you are full of a colourful dance, a radiant song moving through you. And it feels good, but it also feels like a lot. All of these colours swirling. And you see now the host of butterflies in the clouds, and you see how free they look without all of those many colours. And one of those butterflies that's already offered its colour to you lands on your hand once more, and you notice how if you look carefully at it, amongst the white and the cream of its body, you can see tiny, tiny, delicate filigrees of colour, like gentle, careful, detailed designs, totally unique to that individual butterfly. Now it's released all of the colour that it was carrying to you. And now says, whispering, let's do the same. Remembering that what is yours cannot be taken from you. So you breathe deeply, feeling at first the energy of the earth beneath you. It's powerful, fertile soil, waiting for the seeds of the new to grow. And perhaps each of those seeds is waiting for some colour, some idea, some new form, some new weaving of fate that it is its job to carry into the world. And so you offer these deep, radiant, vibrating, pulsing, dancing colours down into the earth, and you feel the earth open to receive. And as you breathe colour and life force into the earth itself, releasing slowly, feeling the earth opening to receive all of these radiant colours. And you notice that as you do so, as the colours that the butterflies have offered you release down into the earth, other colours that you hadn't even noticed were there inside your energy body also release at this point. And you can feel now just the very hint of those tiny filigree lines of you etched inside you, part of you, carved into your being. Feel how strong they are now. Still can't quite see them, but you can feel them. As you open now to the energy of sky. Beyond the blue, out into the unseen. Out into the stars, each one pulsing, billions upon billions upon billions of stars. Some of those stars are waiting for what you have received, waiting for those colours to swirl now and take flight into the air, Feeling the gravitational pull of each of those stars, drawing what is theirs to them now as you release on the breath. Feeling those colours joining the dance of the stars, gliding up, becoming rays of light that will one day illuminate the surface of a planet a little bit like yours. Releasing on the breath. If you feel that you need to, you can just move your fingers and your toes ever so gently, just allowing your body to release those colours now. Just moving your shoulders, perhaps moving your hips from side to side, just very gently, as if you're just nudging anything that's not yours now. Just nudging it out, offering it to the stars and breathing it out. Star seeds of the sky waiting to be born. And now in this peaceful place, you're more aware of the sounds of the birds singing high in the trees, and the munching of Na's horse, and the ripple of the waters. And you hear the voice of the waters now calling to you and whispering. Whispering, what is yours cannot be taken from you. And you allow that water now, that cool, clear water, to carry away any residual energy, anything that's not yours. Feeling the energy of water moving through you now, up your feet, up your legs and thighs, hips, torso, chest, shoulders, arms, hands, neck and head. Cool and clear and crystalline, and as it does so, it reveals your pattern, your beautiful, radiant pattern written in the body, so that as its energy moves through, it releases all of those beautiful radiant colours that you've carried with you, that have been gifted to you, unveiling the beauty of you beneath. It's vibrant, powerful colours that offer freedom of movement to you, freedom of expression, freedom to be even more who you are in this moment. Just allow that energy of water to move over the base of the skull, around the shell of the ears, just allowing it to ease into the jaw, just releasing any words that you've spoken that you think, those weren't mine. No, I don't need them anymore. The coiling labyrinth of the brain, sockets of the eyes, clearing and cleansing as it goes, and moving now down your shoulders, if it's a cascade now, as if you're in a waterfall. You can feel that water, the pressure of the water, just removing anything that's not yours, and making your arms grow heavy, and moving down through your fingers, feeling your arms grow heavy, and then spiraling down your spine, releasing and letting go. And again, just allowing yourself to move your body if that feels good, moving into the bowl of the pelvis, remembering that what is yours cannot be taken from you, allowing what is not yours to be carried away by the water, down through the thighs and the knees and the calves and the feet. Until all you are is the breath and the beats of your heart. And around you, you can hear the song of the birds. And you can hear now the sound of Na's breath, slow and steady as she breathes too, drawing in the air around her. And you can see the sky now clearing, as the scudding clouds move away. And you can feel the presence of the rainbow bridge that connects the realm of Asgard and the gods and the realm of Midgard, our world. And Norse says, travel well, for I must now go and help others to receive the gifts that are theirs. And it is your time to go back to where you belong, to welcome yourself home, travelling through now the bridge of the rainbow, feeling the deep red as you move through the rainbow, passing through a brilliant, vibrant veil of red, moving now into orange, feeling yourself passing through that orange, into the radiant yellow of the sun, verdant green, brilliant blue, playful violet, and deep, soothing indigo. Feeling the veil of the rainbow like a cloak now, just gently around your shoulders, just holding you safe in this moment and welcoming you home. Welcome home to your head, your ears, eyes, nose, mouth, neck and shoulders. Welcome home to your chest, to your lungs, to your heart, feeling the rise and fall of the lungs and the breath. And as you breathe now, just feeling that veil slowly releasing itself from you like a cloak, being carried on the air, almost as if it is being lifted by a host of unseen butterflies, being carried back to Asgard as the veils between the worlds reweave themselves around you. Just taking a moment to welcome in that unique pattern that is you. Feeling your core, the essence of your being. Breathing yourself home. With each in-breath, breathing yourself home. In and out. And in and out. Feeling the sensitive pads of your fingers, knowing that they can, when they wish, trace those knots, those promises made that still hold true, still hold fast, still speak to you of your essence and your purpose. Feeling the sense of hearing that might still be open to receive new invitations, new possibilities. Sense of vision and taste and smell, the proprioception of your body knowing itself, and the introception of your deep seer who helps you to choose what is yours and what is not. But for now, there is only one thing to choose, and that is you. Welcoming yourself home, and in your own time, opening your eyes, wiggling your hands, giving yourself a stretch, a bit of a stretch up, side to side, wiggling your feet. I give a little bit of thanks to Na and her horse for hosting that journey for us, knowing that you can come back and do this working anytime you want to. It is available. It'll be on my YouTube channel. It's in the hearth space as well. And if you have enjoyed that little bit of a taster of working with Na and working with the mystic self, we have our mystic retreat tomorrow. We're going to go much deeper with the mystic self, and we're going to be doing a power retrieval process for your mystic. If you're a member of Awaken, you can work with the Gibo rune for gifting, and the Northe's rune when you know that something needs to be released. And if you are in our mastery space, then you have got all of the sessions that Noah hosted from the half space are available in the mastery space as well. So I hope that you have enjoyed this session with me. Please do let me know how you have travelled with that. If you want to just stay quiet and peaceful for a while longer as well, you can absolutely do so. We have come to the end of our waning moon celebration together. Thank you to all of those who have joined me, whether you're joining me live or whether you are seeing this as a replay. If this is a replay, please do say #replay and let me know how our session worked for you, what was powerful for you, and yeah, many blessings to you for the month to come.